Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Meeting should come to order. Today is Thursday, March 15th. February 6th. March. Yeah, I'm in March already. I think I get back today. February 16th, 2023. The audience today remembers that. Let's start with the pledge. All rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's why my name tag up on this. All right, so tonight on our docket, let's start with the review of the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to review them from last month? Does anybody have any questions? Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Carrie,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Agenda item number 4 and 5.
Extras to go.
And yeah, there's some additional stuff on here. All right, so this is for Don and Mary Jane Warner, 7865 and 7869 Peck Road. Kirkland, New York, tax map ID 042-01.32.1 and 042-01-32.4. So we'll talk through this, but this one's going to need 7 variances to subdivide and combine parcels to improve frontage and to make residential lots conforming to and to separate out potential solar project property. All right. That's good. All right. So the legal notice for tonight's agenda has been published to notify the general public of the meeting. Can we get a motion to waive the reading of the publication? I'll make a motion to waive the public reading. All right, give you a second. Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Trying to soup fire over there. That's the difference of not having a U table. All right. So at this time, I'll request a motion to open the public hearing on agenda item number 4. There. All right. Clary, second.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, Andy, since you're here on behalf of the property owners and Verizon, you could present to the board what it is you're looking to do and why it is you need variances.
Great. Well, thank you for being here. As I think some of you heard, Don and Mary Jane aren't able to be here tonight. They're cruising the Caribbean and wanted to not reschedule. So I think we'll let them. So I'm here, as you said.
Sorry.
Yep.
Can you pull it up on the screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
The cruise.
We're gonna zoom into their cruise.
Yeah.
This is something they'd always talked about doing, is redrawing these property lines because of some of the issues that exist, such as that barn straddling the property line, splitting off the rental unit that could eventually be transferred to either sold or transferred to their kids. And so this is really, finally taking the opportunity to do that. As Chairman Kelly said, there are 7 variances on the table for us to discuss. Most of them already exist without any of these changes in the property lines that we're talking about. A lot of the properties in this area, specifically along Peck Road, are what I think would be called legal non-conforming, based on the fact that these parcels have been in existence long before the dimensional standards of the town that are currently in effect have taken place. So, we're not talking about any new structures as part of these property lines or this variance, these variances. It's really a matter of cleaning up some of the issues in the ways the lot lines are already drawn. And in fact, I think that this would bring these properties closer in line and in closer compliance with both the spirit and the letter of the law, and leave everyone better off. So, what these things will do is end the reliance by the Warner's resident, which is 7865, on a shared driveway with the rental unit, which is in purple on the map and up here. So this They currently share a drive right here that is straddling two 20-foot frontages back to these houses. The Warner's residence currently only has this western 20-foot frontage and access that back. And then the rental house has 20-foot access here as well. So this would allow the Warners then in the future, either themselves or potential future owner of the property to have their own access, wider access to Peck Road down here. And while they plan to continue to share this driveway in the future until they sell this piece, they'll have access here, but they will no longer need to rely on that for their access to Peck Road.
Is there a shared driveway agreement?
That's a good question. I am not sure if there is or not.
So that it's there in case.
Well, I think, and I'm skipping way ahead.
Sure.
If this is approved, I think that's going to be a condition.
That's a good idea. Yep. I don't think anyone would oppose that. That's probably a smart thing to do. So then we'll also improve and widen, as I mentioned, both the frontage for both of those houses. It'll split off the rental unit to be transferred to another entity at some point in the future. And it brings all the outbuildings south of the Warner's residence, which are all buildings associated with their business, and it attaches them to their home, which is a more logical sense to have them together. They're not really farm buildings. I mean, they are, but they're used currently for some of their machinery. And it also eliminates the issue of this barn C here actually straddling the property line. I'm not sure how that happened, back in the day, but that's the situation right now. And through all this, it's going to maintain more than adequate access to the vacant farmland at that 60-foot frontage over here on the west edge of the property. And so all but two of these, as I said, are sort of existing non-compliance issues. The only two sort of new things that are caused by this is that this property needs to be about 5% lot area variance. This is just under the 100,000 foot required lot size. And then this new property line that will be drawn here creates an 8-foot variance that we would need for the side yard setback of that corner barn. We designed this such that that southern property line of the vacant land and the northern property line of the two house lots just continue as a straight east to west line, which seemed, the best, the most logical, cleanest way to do it. So I think these are hopefully fairly non-controversial, and we're hoping to get them granted. And the Warners also wrote a brief statement that I wanted to share. Does Debbie have a copy of that? They just have it for the record. Yeah, I can send it to you at some point. Okay. Yeah, it was so we're the property owners of 7865 and 7869 Peck Road, and we're writing to ask you to approve the variances that you have before you, which will allow this redrawing of our property lines. The rearrangement of the property lines will help us properly situate our buildings on our property and allow us to divide the land as we feel is best for our kids and heirs once the land transfers to them. We want to be able to access Peck Road from our residence, 7865, without relying on the shared driveway with our rental house, as well as to separately convey that rental house as its own parcel, separate from the farmland when the time comes. In addition, we want to fix the problem of our outbuildings that are tied to our residence being on a separate parcel, and in one case, straddling the property line. Regardless of whatever future use our farmland will have, this subdivision and these variances are important to us and our heirs to get the property lines right. We ask that you grant the variances required to accomplish this. So happy to answer any questions, to talk about it, and I'll just stop there.
So that was the thing you said you had from the owners, but did you have anything from any of the neighbors?
No, I called all the neighbors based on all the research I could do.
And that's like all these people?
Yep, and in the front as well.
And then you're on Peck.
Yep, I'm along Peck, exactly. So there were 13 different entities that I called based on the list that Debbie sent me. I spoke with 3. I spoke with Rita Balzer. She called me back and was very friendly and kind of said, okay, thanks for letting me know. Didn't really have any questions. I spoke with Sherry Cassane, I was able to somehow find her cell phone number. It was, quite a bit of research. Really had no problems, just kind of wanted to call, just ask kind of, you know, what are you talking about? Why am I doing this? And is it affecting my property at all? And then spoke with John Canistrare, who I believe is the senior of the two, if there are actually two John Canistrares. And he was already aware of everything. He said, oh yeah, I know what you're doing. You know, I don't know the Warners personally, but but their kids are friends. They hung around together a lot, I guess, back in the day. His one statement was better than a housing development. So that is, I left a lot of messages, and yeah, the only callback I got was Mrs. Balzer, who I just mentioned.
How about Mr. Lefstedt?
Right, so Mr. Lefstedt, I did not speak with him. I called him, reached the machine, tried to leave a message, but it got cut off kind of midway through. Then I called immediately back. It seemed kind of like someone had picked up, but there was nothing on the line, and then it disconnected. I never heard back.
Is his access also off of that driveway? Or does he have his own access?
Do you have the photos?
Yes.
Okay,
That's what I was wondering.
can we take a look at some of those?
Well,
This guy.
yeah, he has his own access east of the driveway for the Warners.
His house,
At his house.
and then he's got access off the shared piece or some kind of parking, something in the back of it.
Yeah, RV or something like that, I think, whatever it might be.
These do not appear to be the photos that. Did these work when you looked at them, Debbie? They look,
Yeah.
That's not what. That's how they look.
It's supposed to be.
Sorry,
and I saw them earlier, so I know they were pictures of the entries and that egress from there.
I'm gonna try to look on them in the agenda.
How about you go to the top where it says 100% and shorten it a little bit? See where it says 100 on the top? Well, not that.
Yeah, no, it was,
It doesn't look like they're in photos, correct?
There's- Well, that one.
right, like even,
That's one of them. Dude, they were fine when I sent them.
That's the building to the west of left.
the one owned by the bank.
That's right, yes, sir.
right,
May
go to
I-
Google Street View.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
I didn't catch your name,
Andy Melka,
Andy,
Melka,
and your relationship to the owner?
We are working with them, I'm with Horizon Solar Power, and we are working with them on an eventual, looking to potentially put some solar panels up behind their house. In order, yeah, so, and just as a developer and as somebody who's familiar with these processes, I'm working with them on the subdivision.
You're not an attorney,
No, sir.
you're a developer.
Yes, sir.
So one of my questions was, could you just lay out for us the proposed? I know you still have to go back to planning. and all
Yeah, there's
that,
lots
but
to do there.
Just if, because this stuff has to come before you go back there, but can you just explain to me what that solar project looks like that you're looking to put in there?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
So,
pictures maybe to pull up.
yeah, let's see
I
here.
can, I don't see you as a attendee. I
Yeah, I can join.
can
So
add you as a panelist, or I'm sure that I can find them from.
let me join and I can, if that's okay, Tom, and then
Yeah.
I'll just share.
Feel free to ask any other questions, let's pull it up.
What's that?
Feel free to ask any other questions you may have, we're pulling it up.
Oh, I
It
know,
says this
interrupt.
webinar is scheduled for March 16th at 9 a.m.
My film.
See,
I was thinking like that.
and I just clicked the link that Debbie had sent me. We go back to the front page of the town.
Next time.
I see it's currently on YouTube, but I didn't try the Zoom link. I just made sure the YouTube worked was one thing working.
Okay, I mean, why don't you, at least describe it?
Yeah. If you bring up actually the survey, oh, now I'm in it. I got to it from the calendar, on the front page. I got to be looking at myself. All right, let's see here.
As a panelist now, I believe you can share your screen.
Yes. I believe. All right, so here we are. So this is what we're currently proposing. It's obviously rotated. I can change that if that makes it easier, one way or the other. So we're thinking about coming north along the west side of their property line, back into the vacant land, the farm field, and then have rows of, our access will continue north to about the center of the property and then cut east to a turnaround here for fire and ambulance and access and deliveries. And then we would have rows of panels running north-south. This would be a tilt, single axis tracking system where the panels actually move from east to west over the course of the day for better production. And it's pretty straightforward. You know, we have a fence, we have a detention basin, or, you know, what do they call it? Dry retention basin there at the front and to be in compliance with state codes and as part of our SWIP. And that's essentially it. So it's about 25 acres of panels that we're looking at. And then we have proposed a native low growth grass and flower mixture underneath the panels to promote biodiversity and pollinator friendly ground cover, not just, you know, turf grass or something that's going to need a lot of long-term maintenance. And then up at the front of the site, along the south end of the site, although it's already, you know, pretty well shielded from view on Peck, a row of mixed species of evergreen trees along the front to act as natural screening. Sorry, not natural, installed screening for the site. So Don and Mary Jane, they'll maintain access to the woods that are in the back side of the property via, I think it's about a 20-foot gap we've left though on the south side of the property line, and then the east side over here. So you can get up and around and go back to the woods.
How many acres are in that blue section?
Almost 40.
It is,
37.625.
there you
37?
go, 0.625.
37. And you guys are gonna use,
About 25 acres or so for the array, and then maybe another acre or two for the, you know, road and detention basin. So the balance will be the woods that are on the north side and the east side of the property between all the houses along, why can't I remember Firstler? Is it Firstler? Is that the road?
Yes.
Yeah. Firstler.
I just wanted to clarify what they were looking to do, so that would help with your questions.
yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to, I went back to the meeting where they were talking to the planning board about it, and, but we didn't have anything in this pocket to show.
Yeah.
So,
If we don't pass these variances, you're still gonna consider for using the 25 acres in the back, or?
Yeah, I think we'd have to look at drawing these property lines a little differently, you know, to do that. But yeah, we'd still try to find a way to make that work. Yes, sir.
So you're gonna use that strip on the left side of the paper, which is that west?
Yeah, yeah.
The west side. You're gonna use that as a street, right?
It'll be a gravel access road up through there, and then there'll be a buried underground line back to the site, collect power from the solar panels, bring it up along the access road on the west end of the property, and then hooking into national grid infrastructure along that road.
So, from their property, which is the yellow
Mhm. From their residential property.
residential property, thank you. You're using 25, so there's another 12 acres basically surrounding this property, right?
I'm sorry.
Well, they were only going back about halfway with their road and the roads. So.
Yeah.
The rows, yeah,
And so do they have access to the 12 acres you're not using?
yes, they do.
And basically that's around the
The south and east.
south and east side.
Yes, sir.
Anything back this way?
They will be able to access that as well.
Uh,
So if I,
Is that another roadway? How's that gonna be accessed?
yeah, so this is a aerial view of the property. There will be between. Actually, let me go back to the subdivision map. So between this southern property line, our fence, we're maintaining, I think it's 20 foot of open access. On the south line and the east line for them to access with a vehicle or walk or side by side or whatever they want to do to get back to the woods.
So
That would be the
you're
balance.
basically going up, on north
Right,
and putting in a fence 20 feet up.
off, north of the property line. Yes,
And then on the east side, you're coming in.
that's right, that's right.
So you got a 20-foot access around, I got you, I see, okay.
You can kind of see it here. It's a little, it's a little like between this line here and this line here. This is our fence. And this is the lot line.
Yeah,
So that area right where the hand is the strip that they'll access from, along the south end and then north along the east end to get to the woods.
I want to, do any other panel members have questions here? I don't wanna,
No, the
I was
only,
gonna get to
I
that,
was
but
just about the
you had
beach
some
and,
good questions, so.
yeah, the neighbors, but we have.
Well, So here's one thing that I asked this when we had our planning meeting about this. They're here because the biggest issue with this whole thing, again, like some of the ones in the past that we've had, looking at it solely from the variance side of things, not the project itself, because we're not making any say whether or not Andy and Horizon can come in and build it. That's gonna go back to planning board. The biggest issue right now is the way that yellow and purple on that map are set up. You have a completely non-conforming lot. Like where it's kind of all over the place. And to make these just even just these two lots, aside from this back there.
Yeah.
Those two front things have to happen to conform those two properties.
well. Like I
At least
said,
those-
does anybody else have any questions on this? Because I don't think, well, let me get right into it. I don't like the idea of the first, on the west side, that 55 feet, which
Sorry, let me go back to that.
That's the access road.
it
Or
will
what
be
would
the,
be an access
it
road.
will be,
Yeah.
right? I don't like cutting that 50-foot piece out. Nor do I like the existing driveway they've got, which is what, 40 feet?
You're like cutting it out. What do you,
Well-
sorry.
When we break it down to 50 feet or 40 feet, access to the road and then give them a variance for whatever's left out of the 200. That opens the door to other people, other problems that want to do the same thing. They come in with a piece of property, they want to run down to the road with a 50-foot lot. And we got these long streams.
Flat lot.
Yeah, and so. I would like to, my proposal, if you will, I don't know how else to put it, would be. to, let's say, eliminate the, driveway access that they have now,
The shared access.
the shared
In the
access.
purple area.
Yeah, I don't like that 40 feet, let's, do away with that. Go back over to the blue section where you've got 55 feet. Put in a dedicated street. Or maybe they can get away with just a limited access over that way. But I think a dedicated street in to a point where it gets behind barn B and then comes back over to the, it would head east, if I got that right.
Then you'd have barn C in the way. You go
Yeah.
around it or?
I just bring that access street over to about where where those two driveways come together.
Somewhere up in.
And, yeah,
Yeah, make this.
okay, so follow what I'm saying?
I follow it, yeah.
Okay, I'm,
Hey,
I'm not sure what the advantage is.
Katie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so when you look at this. When you look here,
yeah,
there's buildings there.
I
You
see.
can't shift anything over because,
I'm not
other
shifting
property-
anything, I'm not
no,
shifting
you're
anything.
talking about, but they can't really because there's buildings here and nothing
No,
that goes buildings.
No, then they got 55 foot of frontage right there that they're gonna use.
Here.
Yeah, make that a dedicated street.
So to
To
clarify,
go at least back far enough, and then come in and pick up the two houses.
okay, so I think I understand what you're saying, so I'm gonna go up here and show.
What do you think you're saying?
You're thinking like this?
Hold on,
That,
let me,
I
I
go
think,
too far,
I think I get what you're saying, so what? Correct me if I'm wrong here.
okay,
This one stays for that property, right? And you're saying that make this like an access point up to here, and they just use that to get into this property,
well, you go up a little further, yeah,
right? Yeah, yeah, like,
go
okay.
up in there,
And then if in the future they were to do something, it would just go off the back of that.
and then from there, they would go on out with.
Right, so it would go like this and then instead of splitting this.
That's right.
But then the issue I see there though is if the commercial side of it, right, you're saying make it a street?
Well, dedicated street, the point is that you wanna make those two lots.
Like a dead end?
Huh?
Like a dead end type street, what you're saying?
Off of this part.
Make that a dedicated street up and then turn in and go over towards the rental house.
what's the advantage of that?
You do away with the 50-foot piece of land, which eventually will be your access to the back lot. Right?
Right, what do you mean do away with?
And I don't
Like,
think- I don't
it
think
becomes.
it
If it becomes a dedicated street, then it's no longer 50-foot individual piece of property.
Okay, so just in order to avoid a flag lot situation.
Thank you. And then comes down to the 40-foot piece, that would eliminate the need for that
I know
40-foot
that
piece.
there's a lot of design standards that are going into that. I don't know. I was trying to look at them but our planning board subdivision, it wouldn't fall under a subdivision design standard, it would fall under. Cause I believe that's. That'd be highway law.
Yeah, correct.
But that's where your
But-
road, the gravel road would be anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't matter.
Doesn't
Right?
matter, except now they want a variance to make that basically a separate lot. That
Well,
50-foot
so-
piece,
right, so
and I don't wanna do that.
so when you look, the way it's operating, like if you go and look at it, it's basically operating the way you see it with the variances. So nothing's really changing. If none of this happened and they had to, it's an opportunity to clean up just an absolutely, whoever did this and however this got divided, however all those houses got in there. It sure as heck wouldn't happen today, don't know how it happened, it's an absolute mess and a travesty, however.
How far is the neighbor's house off that property line?
Well, they,
So look at what KP is saying, that the neighbor to the left of them. So like, here, I pulled it up on my phone. It was the best way to get a map of it. So right here. Right, so here's,
So the way it's
here's
operating
this
now.
stuff,
is-
right? This is what we're looking at. Right.
So
You guys
you're
hear
picking
that?
everything up.
There's a driveway that comes back right here. So my question is, how far is that off?
Does that make sense? Wes?
It's not changing it. It's
The way it is.
it's just fixing lines,
So
really.
this is their property, basis back room.
Yeah, if they-
This is back, yeah. This is the neighbor's house.
This is the way it is now, Katie.
yeah, I've been there, I know,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what's there now.
Yeah.
What they're talking about.
The blue line, if you will,
This part here,
that's been added,
right?
that's
You got
not
that
there, I mean, the land is there,
It's a width there.
the lines are not there.
Correct.
The lines are there for part of the situation, so this, although the lines are actually shifted about 40 feet from reality in this line, this is from the county website. These are the existing property lines as they stand. So the vacant lot already has this 60-foot strip, 55-foot strip that goes back. It just for some reason happens to include this area here with barns and buildings that go towards the residence. The residence is already a flag lot, which only a 20-foot
Wait a minute,
frontage.
guys. Let me hear what he's saying.
Yeah, so I was saying that this is the situation as it currently stands. You know, these are the lot lines that exist right now on the county website. There's already a narrow strip that goes back there, and then the Warner's property, their house, is already a flag lot that's way worse than anything we're talking about now. It only has a 20-foot frontage here going back to back here. And then the rental unit also has, essentially a 20-foot flag lot here. And I know it would be very disruptive to the Warners currently and in the future if we had a road, if the access to this road, to this house was through a dedicated road there and then across the front of their house. And that's just sort of, it's a big intrusion into the way that they live and how things are out there.
That's Warren. You give that back to Warren.
So, we are, I think, in a lot of ways, really improving the situation out there, even though we're left with an additional flag lot,
It's
It's cleaner.
basically is a flag lot
right.
already.
Mhm.
It's just got, it's got a barn, it's got a couple barns on it in the front, and it's got a house on it in, the purple area. And then it's got all this land. So, and it would make at least what would now be the purple, something that would be sustainable, saleable, right? It would stand on its own. It would, otherwise it just falls into disrepair. It's a rental. You can't, it's non-conforming. Maybe somebody will buy it, pick it up. It's actually something that could become something better than what it is, if it is a proper lot. But right now it sits on a lot that is
What piece
somebody
are you talking
else's, the purple, what I'm gonna say,
The purple.
the new purple.
Okay, let's talk about purple.
So the new purple piece becomes something that's way better than it was. We would,
We're not changing anything there.
right, but no, because what you're doing is you're making a new lot. And that can now be sold to somebody or
Wait a minute,
used, and everything else that ever happens
Can we
on
go
that.
back to the existing?
Yeah, the
way
purple
it was
section is
before?
currently, the purple section as it currently stands is in with the field, with the blue. It's part of the same property line as the blue area.
And in with this part of the yellow in the front, all of
Wait,
that.
wait, let me, I'm a little slow.
So we are creating a new parcel out of the purple land, which does not exist now.
Because right now,
So the yellow, it does show up there. The yellow parcel.
The yellow parcel is the Warner's residential
Yeah,
parcel
that-
right here.
Those
And-
lines are already,
Those lines exist. They own that house together. Mary Jane happens to own the farm by herself. So yes, it's separate, whatever, but yeah.
I'm saying that's already in,
Yeah, so actually, if you look at this, so the existing lot line, let me just go back to the mouse. It's at a laser pointer, so the existing lot for the yellow starts here. So we're capturing this land, which is currently part of the Warner's residential property, and adding that to the vacant. It's just vacant field as it currently is. That's in order to create this nice, clean east to west property line and reduce the length of this 55-foot length. So on the yellow, which is their property, the current property goes up here, then down to this line right here, and then east, and then down for a 20-foot frontage, and then back all the way up.
The front yellow part is part, just so you know, the bottom left there is also part of that original blue.
Yeah, this area currently where barns A and B and half C are currently part of the blue property. As you can see, it's not a perfect,
I see.
the lot lines don't
So it
perfectly
looks
add up
like two
here.
flags.
It looks like a Jenga piece. It's a really.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Maybe I can bring up the survey, the original survey, the as is survey. I wish the photos for it. Photos are shot, we can see they come out very clear.
We can do it from Google Maps.
Right?
Go there.
So here's another way to look at it. So
Yeah.
this is the existing line. This is the existing situation here. So what I'm trying to do is,
let me stop you right there. For clarification. We're at the west side of the property. Right in there, right there where you're, right there, move up, right in there. Is that,
this is how it is.
shown now?
This is how it is.
That's how that's been.
That's how it is for as long as I'm aware. That's it. There you go. And that's also what I think I'm showing you right here. Yeah,
This is the original survey.
for the as is survey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't that bizarre?
it's really screwy.
Uh,
And then we have these two, these two tiny little parcel, this parcel here, the bank owned property.
Yeah.
Mr. Lefstedt, is a tiny little piece relative to, current standards.
do they have any idea? Do they have any? Do you have a notion of what they might consider doing with that piece that the bank owns?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no,
Did you ever have that conversation with them?
it's not the Warners, so
I know,
I have no knowledge of what's going on with that.
and they
parcel.
don't have any intentions of picking it up.
Who's they, the Warners?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Not that I'm aware of. We've never talked, they've never said anything about it.
I mean, it used to be their house, and then they sold it or something.
And that was like the Warners, or maybe Mary Jane's dad, who, I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Yeah, I talked to one of the neighbors, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah. They've never mentioned to me any intention or desire to
Take
do
it.
anything with that property.
But that property being there creates the flag lot.
Well, yeah, that lot, where the existing house is and boarded up.
It's gonna be a flag, but because of that,
Yeah, that's not big enough to have a septic system on. They need all the rest of that,
That-
where the barns are and everything else.
Is that, are you talking about the house that's boarded up?
yes.
The county will allow best practice engineer system for that house to
They'll what?
allow, it's called best practice engineered system
Okay,
for
yeah.
renovation of that home. So they can, through engineering, make that work. How they make that work is well above me, but apparently they can do that, because that was similar to the home that we did on North Burdick Street. That gentleman had the issues with the septic system, and he was allowed by the county to put one in there.
In front of where you could attempt to build a house.
Yes, but it's still through best engineering practices, their best engineered system, he was allowed to do it, so they can do that.
Oh,
Okay, so back to the purple, right?
Can I do one more, just so you guys, for the planning board and for references for design standards for lots, chapter 127-19, there's nothing in there about flag lots. The only item they have is in there is excessive depth in relation to width shall be avoided, and they give a proportion of 2.5 to 1. It later goes on to say, with the planning board and discretion, they may waive any of the above requirements upon specific findings that indicate such requirements are not necessary. Just so if there's questions about
Like if you
creating
Google
flag
flag
lots,
lot, you're not
creating-
gonna hear it.
creating small widths or creating some of these kind of things, back to the planning board, they have these within the design standards for lots, but a flag lot. They have to get the variance for it, for the frontage, but there's nothing that says
They can't have.
they can't have.
Oh,
a flag
there's
lot.
nothing there saying you can't have.
Correct. You just have to get the variance.
Yeah.
It's the variance is the thing that'll lead you to have a flag lot. The only thing, again, they're allowed to review is the excessive depth in relation to width. But that can still be reviewed, because then again, you'd have all the homes and like home in those areas that would have excessive depth of width.
Yeah.
So,
But there's,
as an example, just for fun, if you had, look at this, perfect. If you had a 200-foot road frontage, that was in compliance and didn't need a variance, then you had like 1,000-foot long property this way.
I can't see it going. Can you move it this way?
Yep. I think what Tom, you're saying is this probably doesn't need any variances, but the way the town code reads, it's not prohibited. It's, if they don't want it, but
like planning
But
board would.
planning board can't
review it
review
on
it.
specific findings to allow, the planning board is the ultimately.
for flag lots.
Jay would correct me if I misspeak here, even if these variances are issued, the planning board still has purview of issuing the subdivision.
Absolutely. Yes, so I have to go back to them for all that issuance.
I've got a
I
question.
didn't think the flag, I didn't want anybody, there's nothing for the flag lot design standards, because I looked for that within that. For this originally,
Right.
to see if you need a variance
As
for
a
me,
matter of practice,
yes.
we've stayed away from it. We've had a couple cases, one of them was, almost got out of line, was, the one up on Gulf Road. Remember that, where the guy wanted to run way up in the back and.
The problem with this is you've got 7, 8 acres of beautiful land that literally, because of whatever was done so long ago, is going to not be usable in any reasonable way because of the anomalies on the frontage. So.
No, I'm not saying.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, that's the problem with what we're presented with.
Well, if they put that road, if they declare that narrow strip.
We can't decide, this board can't decide if that's going to be a road, there's a lot of design standards that we need
To Rob and to.
for that to be a road. And right now, basically, what is being proposed visually changes nothing. The only thing that might happen if the planning board allows it is there would be allowed to be a road to go back to do the solar. Or if they don't do solar, if somebody comes and tries to put in a housing development, I don't know what the planning board would do. It's land that basically is almost landlocked, 25 acres.
Yes.
I've got a question.
Yes.
On the purple. Right? The frontage of 200 feet is on Peck Road, right?
Yes.
There is, that is the required frontage per dimensional standards.
Right.
Would be along that.
But you've got a house in front of that rental house.
Yep.
Okay, that is where the flag setup came from.
Right.
That's Mr. Left.
Mr. Left house.
You can't.
So there is,
Explain that,
right,
okay?
right.
So 200 is required, but
There's no physical way to achieve that.
that's right.
Well, if you had the road come in there, the road coming in, the new road, which I can't propose. You know, cover that 200 feet. Stay away from lots.
In order to get a road in there, I'm not even sure how that would work, because you're now talking about to access the purple, cutting up the Warner's yard, impacting their buildings, narrowing, kind of trying to come between their buildings. And I'm not even sure where that road goes to access the purple that would count as 200 feet.
Yeah.
So,
I also want to clarify the fact that I was not aware, or if I saw that.
right, the current situation, sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
I thought that was, this was all new.
Right, right, that definitely helps
Say,
focus,
now that I see that a lot of this stuff has already been.
already screwy.
That's why.
It doesn't make sense, Casey, the way it was made.
Not at all.
So, and now it's just eating up.
Yeah, but see, it's already, here it is here, it's already. You know, down to the courthouse. Right, it's already surveyed, it's been there, you know,
How many
who
years
knows
ago?
how long,
Yep.
So now they're trying to clean up and take part of that yellow into the blue.
yeah,
Add a bunch to the yellow, which
Yeah.
is the way it operates right now, that all those buildings are.
Oh, that part of it.
It's
Right.
strange because, you know, they come with, we need 7 variances, and I can't remember ever having to look for 7 variances. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know that I've seen 4 recently, and usually it's within the building or this or that. It seems to be, and I know you tried to come up with an alternative, I was listening very intently, like, okay, listen, maybe that'll work. The only way to clean this up, which only cleans it up on paper for all time, is to do this configuration. Then maybe this becomes usable. Planning board will decide if it can be solar array or what it can be.
well, the blue property in the back, the solar panels. That's available, they can do that anyway.
Well, they would not be able to do it because it's hooked up to this person's.
No,
Yeah.
they've got this access right down the.
No, you didn't do anything and you kept it. This blue piece is still this purple piece and part of this yellow.
Oh, that's the difference, that's the problem with the houses.
Right, so you can't.
But the blue property, when they wanna put in the solar panels,
Oh, yeah.
that's still there, that's at
Only,
their access to the solar panel area.
yes, but only if it gets fixed. Otherwise, they can't put their solar panel or anything back there because there's a house on that lot and barns.
Oh,
right,
they have
the
to
house-
separate that
The house.
off the blue property. Yeah,
And part
okay,
of the-
yeah, I can see that.
And put some of the yellow into the blue and some of the blue into the yellow.
Right, so
Did that make
It's
sense?
it's perfect.
That
sense.
does.
Yeah.
Maybe we should make it green.
Yeah, no, that's,
It's perfect sense,
makes,
clear as mud, you know?
Clear as mud, yeah.
But
No, I have to say, I've looked at this before and I had to reorient myself again to it tonight because I've seen
No,
it.
and that helps kind of clarify it,
Mhm.
for sure.
well, it makes a hell of a difference, a big difference. I mean, you know, like you said, I thought we were doing all of this tonight, you know, making all these changes in these lot lines. No, it's almost all done,
Mhm.
we're just, yeah,
Just
don't,
cleaning it up.
I give them.
Warren,
I'm looking at this 15-12 and the requirement is 200 feet frontage. Where a septic system is proposed.
It's not- it's-
Could they? What's required if you split this into 2 separate lots as far as septic goes? Do they have to be,
where's septic proposed? I don't think there's any septic proposed.
well, what do they have now?
Oh, I'm not sure what they have now. We're not making any changes to any septics or anything.
But if you separate the lots, if one of those lots got sold, there would have to be,
Both lots would have to have their own septic system.
Yeah, I'm not, that's a good question. I'm not sure.
But that's why
I believe that they do, that the rental has its own system and that their residence has its own system as well, separately.
so if you look,
I believe, but I'm not sure about that. So-
Yeah, I would assume that's correct.
I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure they're separate, but if you go and separate these lots, they'll have to conform.
No, because they're pre-existing
Pre-existing.
non-conforming, and that's why we're giving them variances.
And the other thing,
You know,
the other thing.
if we came to you, sorry, just to say something real quick, Mr. Kelly, is that if the redrawing of property lines only creates 2 variance issues of the 7. If we in order to bring these into compliance without changing anything, 5 of those variances would still be required. Does that make sense? So like, the fact that we're redrawing and shuffling the property line around only creates 2 new variances that wouldn't already be existing non-compliance issues right now.
And
And
one
what
of
are
them would be the purple lot having
Frontage.
that one driveway.
Yeah, well, but that's already there. No, that's
It's already there.
an existing non-compliance issue. The only 2 that are currently existing, or the only 2 that we're creating are the 5,400 square foot lot size for the purple. You know, your requirement is 100,000 feet, we're at like 94.7 or whatever.
Right.
And then barn B is 12 feet instead of, it needs an 8-foot variance from the blue strip on the west side that we're cutting off.
And they're planning on keeping those barns.
Yes, and keeping them as part of their residence, which is why we're trying to wrap those into the residence.
Cause they hold their equipment.
And what of the dilapidated house?
That's not theirs, it's not our
It's
problem.
not theirs, that's the bank.
Yep, has nothing to do with this, yeah.
See, the only lot line that they're gonna have to add basically is for this lot, the back of it. To separate it from the rest of it.
It's pretty
And then
much-
the other variance is down here.
Don't want you to photos, Tom?
The picture, or,
Yeah, the Google.
You have,
yes, let me do this.
you have no luck with the photos tonight?
No, we're good, hold on, I became a panelist, now I have to share my screen.
So the 2 variances, pretty much what we're looking at. Right?
Those are sort of the new variances, I'll call it.
Right.
Yeah.
If you kept it this way, it
It's
becomes
still,
none, it
the
would
other
be fine.
5 would still exist.
But because the way you did this, we're just looking at the 2.
Yeah, which is the lot size on purple, 94,000 feet and change as opposed to 100,000, so 5% change. And then barn B, which is the middle barn,
Here.
an 8-foot variance because of the side yards.
Right, okay. What were the 5 variants of, if we kept everything the way it is now, instead of what you did the redrawing?
That's
Okay.
on
it's
here.
gonna be so the only ones that added was lot,
Oh.
for lot 2B, it's variance 2.
One here.
And then, for lot A, it's variance 3.
So we're just looking at this.
Well, actually, no, is this, so the new ones are this one, about 100,000 square
Yeah.
feet. So number 2 is the new one.
Okay.
And then, what did I just say? The other one?
Yeah.
Oh, this barn B right here, so that would be number 3 right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at that.
All right. Does anybody else have, do you have any other questions?
We
Lauren?
already decorated all of there. With the change that they're doing, we don't want to forget these.
Yeah, this left that house and,
And the rentals,
that one in the back.
Yep.
The white, with the brown.
that's the short driveway.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You got the one on the left side, Tom?
Those are good pictures, Warren. You took those.
Yeah.
They are good.
As you see that, that's about, what, 12 wide?
The road,
Yeah,
probably.
Something like
it's
that.
not 40 as they show. Talk about,
Oh, the 40 is just the
it's a
property line.
property line.
Yeah, no, the road is definitely not that. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. It's looking at the survey, probably about 12 feet. irritating.
Again, and if these variances are requested, I think a condition of the variances must be that there needs to be an appropriate shared driveway agreement as between the two parcels which are owned by the Warners. The other guy will be on his own. If he ever tries to sell his property and he doesn't have real access there, he'll have to use his access that's already on.
But again, that's already the Warners, that's still the Warners, purple is still the Warners.
Also,
No, this,
Oh, I'm sorry,
no,
you're
this,
speaking.
this guy right here,
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, what would they have to do, say that again?
that the Warners have to supply the appropriate driveway easement in favor of each of the properties. Permanent shared access. driveway.
Yeah, my only
Between
concern,
the house that's boarded up and the yellow house,
They're just their own.
left that,
between the two that are in the back.
this one here.
so
Okay, I
shared
wanna make
driveway
sure-
between yellow and purple.
Right,
Correct.
And if, and right, that's it, because I would hate for a condition of this that we need to get somebody else's agreement on.
No,
something,
he's got his
especially
own, he's got his
Mr.
own
Weston.
access.
Yeah,
And,
If he wants to
That's-
use it, then he can
and,
get legal
yeah,
access.
someday when they try to sell it, and they're like, you don't have legal access, then.
Then
we
he can
worry
get
about
it if he wants, to, right? Yeah.
So. Larry, how you doing? Any questions?
No, I have no questions, but they weren't related to the variance. I'm good,
You're good, Terry?
I'm good.
You good, sir?
What, you want to start again? You want to go on? I mean, I will say, this may, I wish we had this.
Yeah. Warren, any other questions? Okay, so. Okay. Tom, do we have anybody from the public?
There's nobody from the public.
Okay,
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. All right. Now we're gonna have our discussion among the board members on the 5 questions that were answered. Here we go.
Mr. Chairman, you have my responses to those 5 questions.
We do.
Yep, thank you.
Yep, and they were in the packet provided to the board. And then we're gonna review them from our side. All right, question number 1. Whether benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. Actually, before we do that, we should clarify.
It's in the
We
type
should do
2.
the 5 questions for each variance.
That's up to you. I don't think that that's necessary if you include all the explanations.
Okay,
I would say the variances, we can, and then talk about them all.
all right. Should we do the 5 questions for the yellow lot and the purple lot?
I don't think so, because I think we're looking at it as a package deal.
Okay, so 1 takes the rule.
So, but everyone feel free to weigh in on, on everything.
Okay. All right, next question number 1. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance.
Well, first of all, what's the benefit he's trying to achieve? Let's identify that.
Clean up the 2 lots,
Kind of make things.
make one have an accessible way in.
Well, first of all, we're taking the separating the purple lot from the blue.
Yeah.
That's
That's
the
one of
big,
the benefits,
Well,
well, it's a clear visual.
And you're doing the same with the yellow. There's parts of the yellow that are now yellow that were blue and. the blue that were yellow. That front part was,
oh, yeah,
the front part of the barns were blue.
yeah, okay.
So the benefit is to basically clean this up. Clean up the lot lines
Right,
while providing an access to the back parcel, I would say is the benefit.
Well, you're creating a lot when you close in the rear lot line on that purple. Right?
yes,
Because right now it's got 3 sides
You're right.
and we're just putting in the 4th side of that. So, I mean, that's a major deal.
correct.
The major benefit?
That is a benefit.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
They want to
Yeah.
close that in, yeah.
Yeah.
So So that's the benefit, is to clean this up, create a lot and make the back piece reasonable for some use.
So,
I would say that's the benefit.
and improve the Warner's residential access to Peck. The addition of the yellow, the addition of the lower southern part of the yellow is a big benefit to their housing property.
So that's the benefit, so.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Why is that a benefit to them? I'm not sure I understand that.
So that they will, so that the Warner's residents can end their reliance on the shared driveway, so that they have their own access to Peck Road and that their buildings are tied to the house.
oh, that's,
So are they gonna put a driveway there?
Eventually, perhaps, if they end up selling the purple, that's, no, there's
But
no
but
plans to,
they're
but
going to have, but they're gonna have a shared
they're gonna have
access,
shared access agreements in place currently.
so they may not be able to get a driveway access
Wait a minute.
there.
Very good, then that's, then strike that, forget it.
question on that is, they both have 20 feet. Right?
Currently.
Even though it's
And I
less
mean,
than
that's
As it is.
here, existing,
Mhm.
right?
They each have 20 feet, parallel to each other for a total lot width of 40 feet.
40 feet.
But we sure don't want two separate driveway entrances if they
No.
become bad neighbors and start putting a fence up there.
Well, that's where I'm going. I'm saying, why don't we, why can't they get a driveway?
They do. That's what they have.
That's what they've got, 12 feet wide.
But
Yeah, and then we're gonna share it through a recorded shared driveway access.
But they still leave the 40 feet? That's already there?
well, sure, I
Well,
mean, you don't
We
wanna.
can't get more than
narrow it.
that.
Legally, they would
No,
want
I'm
the access
thinking
to
we
the shared driveway.
We
Right.
probably should.
Because that'll be in.
Yeah. Right now, technically. I mean, the only thing is that they own them together, but technically the lots themselves don't have a shared access.
Have a dedicated, or right, any
They
sort of,
don't have it, it's
Legal shared
used that way, but it's not legal. It's split between the two lots.
and I'll confirm that that's not the case. I'm sure it's not,
What's that?
that there's not already a paper. Recorded.
Well, I want a new one.
Yeah, very good.
And I'll look at it, make sure it says all the right words. Yes, tell me what you've got, but
I know, yeah, we'll have to draft it up, but we'll send it to you.
So to answer this question, then, can it be achieved by a feasible alternative?
Not really,
Well,
too complicated.
you could put a driveway on where the yellow lot is, they don't know, but the blue is part of it, which they don't know. Actually, she owns it, not the two of them own it, right? So she owns her blue.
So she can drive her car in there, he can't.
answer probably
Probably
not
not.
not able
Okay.
to achieve the benefit, right?
So,
But it's
question,
good discussion.
question number 2. Whether an undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties.
No. Really changing nothing.
I don't think so.
No,
It's not gonna change.
no, it's just lines, really.
If anything changes as part of his project, that's the planning board, that's not us, this is the variance.
Right.
All right, I just like saying that over and over.
Yeah.
All right, whether the requested variance is substantial,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, it
Um,
is substantial, but what are the mitigating factors? You know,
To be able to establish this subdivision, it has to be substantial.
it's
Most of these, I mean, you could actually go through it and say that some of these aren't substantial.
I think they're all substantial.
Well, this one, I don't know if this lot 2D, number 2 one is necessarily. It's close to 100,000 feet, but
I've got another question.
yes, sir.
Currently, the sliver of the blue and folds in where this yellow part is right here. Mrs. Warner owns that currently.
They own it all, yeah.
So if the solar goes back there, she would sell this to,
We would lease it from her.
you're leasing it,
It's still the property.
Yeah.
On their name.
but you could sell it to, she could sell it to you, right?
I suppose
She could sell it to a third
I
party.
should sell to you guys, yeah.
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 If
So
the
you-
subdivision, so these are just the variances, the proposals. When it goes to the planning board, if they grant the subdivisions, which I think they will, they seemed in favor of this. Then there's going to have to be deed transfers, like,
Right.
she can't just own that piece.
Right,
It's gotta be fixed, that's gonna be a requirement of the subdivision.
That will be new deeds drawn up and everything.
Right.
the rest of all this.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It'll be fixed. Someone examining title in the future is gonna have a great time figuring it out, but
Leave that to the top.
yes.
So question number 4. Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood?
No,
No.
It's not changing anything.
Right. Again, for these variances, not for any proposed project.
Right.
Being clear for clarification purposes.
Yes, for the record.
All right. What was that?
And it is self-created.
That is true. Whether the life difficulty was self-created, absolutely.
Was it self-created?
Uh,
I mean,
it says
self-created,
you can't answer that.
self-created by a prior ancestor.
Well, you know, I can't barely think of a time when that answer is, it's self-created. I'm not so sure this is self-created in so far as,
Well, it is.
It
if they wanna
just-
Clean it up.
I mean, someone let them build all these barns before there were any rules or regulations or whatever, so now
They were legal at the time. This is my.
we think. Anyway, it doesn't matter how you answer that, but that was just my 2 cents about.
But I look at it,
Self-created.
I look at that, reading that question, that it's self-created because they're looking to fix
Change
that
that.
problem.
To remedy it.
Yeah,
Okay.
when they
So-
built, their house and or the rental house, which is relatively new construction, last 20 years. You know, I'm guessing. You know, that's when that thing should have been properly surveyed, laid out, and set and agreed. So, yeah, it was self-created. They didn't do it.
There we
Should
go.
have been.
Back for laws.
Huh?
The criminal laws back then.
Yes, it was.
That's over 20 years
It's been
ago.
longer than that. I'm looking at a 1994 aerial photo and both those structures are in existence. The house, their residence and the rental.
94 is what, 5 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
30 years next year. It's hard to believe.
Take the hairs out of it.
what is the physical, oh, I had it right here.
Okay, that was, okay.
So. What was that, Tom? Did you have something?
Well, I was just gonna look and see when they were done.
Okay.
That's all.
All right, so the ZBA, after taking into consideration the above 5 factors, finds that the benefit to the applicant does outweigh the detriment to the neighborhood or community. ZBA further finds that the variance for, then read all of them. in a second. Right,
Here you go.
and then we'll go through the other thing. So, all right. Proposed lot 2A, tax map ID 42-01-32.1. This is variance number 1, road frontage required 200 foot, requesting 55 feet 9 inches. Needs a variance of 100, or I'm sorry, they'll have 55 feet 9 inches. They need a variance of 144.91. Yeah, all right. Applicant seeking a variance from chapter 155-12A and 1, for section 1. Applicant is requesting 55.09 feet of frontage and will need a variance of 144.91 feet to provide relief from the required 200 feet of frontage. Proposed lot 2B. Required owner information on the survey, 1 road frontage. Required 200 feet, requesting 40 feet, gives a variance of 160 feet. Applicant is seeking a variance from chapter 155-12. Section A1, applicant is requesting 160 feet of frontage and will need a variance of 40 feet to provide relief to the required 200 feet of frontage.
Good.
They have 160 feet, they need 40. That one. And then part two. No, that's not what I meant. They
No,
have 40,
yeah,
is that right?
no,
No,
two B,
no, no.
something's wrong there.
Oh, lot 2B. Yeah, that's not right. Lot
They-
2B,
they said
they
it-
need,
Yeah, right, it's 40
it
feet.
requires 200, they're requesting 40, they need a variance of 160. I read it the way it was on here, I apologize. All right, then variance 2 for lot 2B requires 100,000 square feet of area requested, or they have 94,525.2 square feet. They need a variance of 5,478.8 square feet.
And that's for the purple lot.
Yes. And then part A, the applicant seeking a variance from chapter 155-12, section A1, applicant is requesting. Right, they have 94,525.2 square feet. They will need a variance of 5,474.8 square feet to provide relief from the required 100,000 square feet of area. Okay. Labeled as lot 2C, tax map ID 42-01-32.4. Road frontage requires 200 feet, requesting 90.87. Needs a variance of 109.13. Applicant seeking a variance from chapter 155-12, section A1. The 90.87 feet of frontage would need a variance of 109.13 feet to provide relief from the required 200 feet of frontage. Part two to that, or variance two, barn A, side yard setback requires 20 feet. They have 13, they need a variance of 7. This is again seeking a variance from chapter 155-12, part B. They have 13, need a variance of 7 feet to provide relief from the required 20-foot side yard setback. Okay, barn B, side yard setback also. The requirement is 20 feet, they have 12, they need a variance of 8 feet. Applicant seeking a variance from chapter 155-12, part B. Applicant has 12 feet, needs a variance of 8 feet to provide relief from the required 20 feet for side yard setback. Barn C, front yard setback, requires 40 feet. They're requesting 16, or they have 16.4, they need a variance of 23.6. Applicant seeking a variance from chapter 155-12, part B again. Applicant is requesting, or applicant has 16.4 front yard setback. They will need a variance of 23.6 feet to provide relief from the required 40-foot front yard setback.
So the motion to grant each of those variances, if you want to confirm.
Did we make, and then we'll make the motion and do it in one fall swoop?
Well, I think that's the motion.
That's the way that it
You don't
is,
need to
right?
reread it.
That way it's not, we have a motion.
I think the motion would be to accept each, and grant each of the variances that were just read by the chair.
I motion, you can reread it, I motion, okay, I motion for granting of what was just read by the chair.
Each of the 7 requested variances.
Each of the 7 requested variants.
Great. That works. And, would there be any conditions attached to
The
that?
condition of
Don't ever.
a shared driveway agreement between,
Or
legal shared driveway agreement between the 2 parcels, properties,
Residential.
residential properties.
Currently owned by the Warners.
Added
To, I would say to be, no, to be provided to the, to council for the ZBA.
provided
And
per council of ZBA.
another condition would be that none of these variances will be considered, granted or final unless and until the planning board, gives approval of the subdivision.
I'll second that.
Thank you. You want me to say all that? He said it. Oh, he said it. Okay,
I
good.
already did it.
Then,
Do we have a second?
Warren. Warren, second.
Okay. All in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, but we're also.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate your.
Technically, I did move it.
Got voted in.
we appreciate you explaining everything. And by the way,
Yeah, thank you.
action.
Oh, yeah, well, yes, that is true. So there's no significant impact on the environment, therefore I propose a type 2 action on secret. No further review is required.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, remember the CDA.
Thank you. Any other, have a safe trip back?
Thank you. I'm gonna go eat a cheeseburger at Craftsman, I think.
There you go.
Fully tenders.
Yeah, Charlie Sanders are good. You will not be disappointed.
One of the $100 steaks there.
Yeah, people will see.
All right, so maybe so, before we all put our stuff away, is there any other business before the board?
Not about this, but I do have a question about that place across the street. Do you have the photo? Actually, you wouldn't have. Do you have the photo? Actually, you wouldn't have the photo. I didn't say that.
Place across the street.
Well, we're clarifying that, just so you guys know, at this point in time, there are two on the agenda for next month, so we will.
Well, I haven't gotten the application.
We're waiting on the application, but it does look like we will have a next meeting.
And I also.
I can say March 16th again. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
And the Zoom link will link to that meeting.
Also.
Yeah, see ya.
Postcode,
Yes.
the deadline for early
And then,
registration
Yeah.
is tomorrow, so if you're planning on going, I need your paperwork.
What's the date on that again? What's the date?
March 9th. It's a Thursday.
Okay.
okay, can we get,
Required continuing education.
I make a motion to adjourn.
That's it.
A second.
well,
It is required to get so many credit hours. There.
Hold on. No.
hold on, all right, so wait, there's a,
Well, then.
there is an open motion on the table. To adjourn.
I second it.
Oh, yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, that motion carries.